Before the first winds howled through the forests of West Africa, before the heavens tore open with thunder, there was Oya. Born of Yamaya or Obatala, depending on the oral tradition, Oya is no ordinary deity in Yoruba cosmology. She is the unstoppable force of change. The eighth child of the primordial Orishas, Oya embodies the hurricane, the sweeping wind that topples kingdoms, and the unseen power that governs the spirit realm. In many versions of the myth, she was once a mortal woman, elevated to divine status by the sheer magnitude of her strength and virtue. She is known as the Orisha of storms, winds, transformation, and death, but not death as an end. To Oya, death is simply another phase of transformation, a doorway rather than a wall. She is the guardian of the cemetery gates, ushering souls from the realm of the living to the ancestral world with grace and sometimes, fury. Her presence is felt in sudden gusts of wind, in the roaring of a tornado, or the explosive silence before a storm. Oya doesn't knock, she storms in, demanding change. In the Yoruba pantheon, Oya is not just a goddess, she is a cosmic principle. Her energy breaks stagnation, clears decay, and makes room for renewal. When crops fail and rains fall in torrents, when leaders fall and empires collapse, the Yoruba whisper her name. They say, Oya is passing. Even the other Orishas acknowledge her might. She is both feared and deeply respected. But Oya's story doesn't end with elemental violence. She is also the goddess of the marketplace, symbolizing commerce, exchange, and social transformation. The same hand that sweeps away destruction also plants the seeds of rebirth. Her contradictions make her whole, warrior and mother, destroyer and protector, death and rebirth. She's not bound by binaries, Oya is a divine paradox. To understand Oya is to understand the raw forces of life itself. She is change. She is chaos. She is liberation. And in the next section, we will journey deeper into her role as a ferocious warrior queen, protector of the dead and wielder of lightning-fast justice. Buckle up, the winds are just getting started. Oya is no passive force in the Yoruba cosmology, she is a sword-wielding warrior whose battlefield is both physical and spiritual. When war drums thundered in ancient times, it was Oya's winds that rushed before the armies, blinding enemies with dust and confusion. She is often depicted with a machete in one hand and a buffalo horn in the other, both symbols of rage and protection. As the only female Orisha who went to war, she didn't just support the cause, she led the charge. Her courage was unmatched, and her presence, unmistakable. Warriors called upon her to bless their blades and possess their feet, so that like the wind, they would strike swiftly and vanish without a trace. Oya's warrior nature is intimately tied to her rulership over the dead, not as an agent of death itself, but as its gatekeeper. In Yoruba belief, the transition between life and death is sacred, and it is Oya who commands the Egan, ancestral spirits, at the edge of that veil. She stands guard at the cemetery gates, ensuring that only the worthy pass and that evil spirits do not cross into the realm of the living. This role makes her not only a goddess of change but a protector of balance between worlds. In this way, she governs more than storms, she controls the invisible boundaries of existence. In rituals and ceremonies, Oya is invoked to sweep away negative energies, to destroy what is harmful, and to make way for new beginnings. Her winds are not always gentle, sometimes they tear roofs from houses, topple trees, and flood lands. But in the spiritual sense, these acts are never random, they are purgative. Like a seasoned warrior purging a corrupt kingdom, Oya comes to cleanse. In her name, people burn away the old, sever toxic ties, and prepare for divine rebirth. To call upon Oya is to summon the power of righteous disruption. Among the Yoruba and their descendants in the diaspora, especially in Candomblé, Brazil, Santeria, Cuba, and Vodun, Benin/Togo, Oya's warrior image remains central. Her priestesses are often known to perform ecstatic dances that mimic the wild swirl of wind, their garments flaring like tornadoes. These women are not simply dancers, they are vessels. When possessed by Oya, they speak in voices not their own and deliver messages from the ancestors. Their steps are not choreographed, they are storm-born. What makes Oya truly gripping is not just her strength, but her willingness to stand alone. In myths, she defies male authority, chooses her own lovers, and fights her own battles. She refuses to be defined by anyone else's story. And in doing so, she became the goddess that even death respects. In the next section, we unravel her explosive relationship with Shango, the god of thunder, and discover how love, rage, and lightning forged one of mythology's most iconic unions. When the god of thunder met the goddess of storms, the skies cracked open in mythic ecstasy. Oya and Shango are not just lovers in Yoruba mythology, they are elemental counterparts, two forces of nature bound by fire, fury, and passion. Shango, the god of thunder and lightning, was drawn to Oya's wild spirit, her unmatched courage, and her refusal to bow to any man, even a god. She, in turn, saw in him the only being whose rage could match her wind. Their union wasn't peaceful, it was electric. Together, they weren't merely a couple, they were a tempest of divine rebellion. Their relationship is marked by love, warfare, and mutual empowerment. In many myths, Oya becomes Shango's favored wife, not because she submitted, but because she amplified his power. It is said that Shango gained the secret of lightning from Oya, who gifted him the magic of the fire-spitting storm. She taught him how to wield thunder not just as a weapon, but as a symbol of divine authority. Oya did not stand behind Shango, she stood beside him, leading battles, commanding winds, and summoning spirits. Their love was not tender, it was explosive, and the world bore witness in every thunderclap and hurricane. Yet theirs was a union of power, not peace. Oya's independence often clashed with Shango's pride, and when the thunder god's attentions turned to other wives, Oya's wrath ignited storms that shook the heavens. In some traditions, her jealousy was so intense that she tore open the earth to swallow her rivals. In others, her heartbreak transformed into a whirlwind that devastated whole villages. But even in rage, Oya's power was revered. She was never seen as merely emotional, but as the divine embodiment of righteous fury. When she wept, the winds howled. When she screamed, the skies fell. Despite their turbulent romance, Oya and Shango remain inseparable in the Yoruba spiritual imagination. They represent a divine balance. Masculine thunder and feminine storm, fire and wind, command and chaos. In rituals across Nigeria, Cuba, and Brazil, their shrines often sit side by side. Followers wear red and burgundy to honor their passion, and during possession rituals, devotees of Oya will often mimic her fighting stance before breaking into Shango's thunderous dance. Theirs is a mythic love that doesn't end in harmony, but in eternal eruption. In a world that often tries to tame powerful women, the story of Oya and Shango stands out as a celebration of divine female rage and agency. Oya was not defined by Shango, she empowered him. And even when separated in some versions of the myth, her storm continues to echo in every roll of thunder. Up next, we explore the sacred symbols, animals, colors, and rituals that define Oya's worship, and what they reveal about her deeper essence. To understand Oya is to read the language of the storm. Her presence is encoded in colors, animals, tools, and natural forces. In Yoruba spiritual systems, Oya is not just evoked by name, she is summoned through symbols. Each item, gesture, and offering in her ritual arsenal speaks of her duality, fierce and maternal, destructive and regenerative. Her colors are deep burgundy, purple, and blood red,
tones that echo the chaos of battle and the mystery of the grave. When devotees dress in these colors, they are not simply being aesthetic, they are invoking the divine rage and renewal that Oya brings. Among Oya's sacred animals, the buffalo reigns supreme. In some myths, she transforms into one, a massive horned beast charging through the savanna. This symbolizes her raw, untamed force and her connection to earth and storm. The buffalo horn, often held by her priestesses, is a tool of both war and ritual, used to command spirits, summon energy, or signal spiritual presence. Oya is also linked to the bat, a creature of the night that flits between worlds, much like Oya herself moves between life and death. Her power lies not in visibility but in motion, in the unseen forces that guide fate. Her sacred tools include the urukara, a horsetail whip, which represents spiritual authority, and a sword or machete, emblem of her warrior nature. During ceremonies, Oya's priestesses may dance with these items, slashing through the air to cut away stagnation or evil. In some Afro-Brazilian traditions, she is also honored with 9 different colors or scarves, each representing one of her 9 forms or paths, each one a facet of her complex spiritual identity. She's not a one-dimensional goddess, she is a pantheon within a pantheon. Ritually, Oya is invoked through fire, wind, and ancestral communication. Sacrifices to her include red wine, copper items, dried meat, and eggplant. Drumming is essential. Her rhythms are sharp and urgent, echoing the sudden gusts of a storm. In sacred groves and shrines across Nigeria and the diaspora, you can find her altars surrounded by twirling fabrics, storm symbols, and burnt offerings. When her spirit descends, it comes as a force, not softly, but like a tempest. Her devotees do not merely pray, they call her to tear down the old and resurrect the new. These symbols don't just express her might, they teach us her mystery. Oya is not worshipped out of fear, but out of understanding that chaos is necessary for creation. She governs change, the one force every human must face. Her machete is not only for battle, it is for cutting the umbilical cord of rebirth. Her wind doesn't only destroy, it sweeps the path forward. And in the final section, we'll uncover how Oya's myth and legacy continue to shape African spirituality, diaspora identities, and the spiritual rebirth of modern seekers around the globe. Oya is not a relic of myth, she is alive in the winds of change blowing through modern Africa and the diaspora. From Nigeria to New Orleans, from Havana to Bahia, her spirit pulses in the chants, dances, and prayers of those who call her name. In Yoruba land, her shrines remain active centers of worship, particularly in places like Ira, a town believed to be her earthly home. There, the Ira festival celebrates her enduring legacy with processions, spiritual offerings, and dramatic performances that recount her power to destroy injustice and usher in renewal. Oya's myth may be ancient, but her relevance is razor-sharp and present. In Brazil's Candomblé and Umbanda, Oya is known as Ayansa, and she commands fierce devotion. She is the protector of women, the patron of transformation, and the bridge between the living and the dead. During trance rituals, Ayansa's followers spin like tornadoes, brandishing swords and speaking in tongues. Her mythos is inseparable from Afro-Brazilian identity, especially among women reclaiming African heritage in the face of racism, patriarchy, and spiritual erasure. She is invoked for strength in courtrooms, hospitals, marriages, and revolutions. To call upon Ayansa is to invite the storm and to rise stronger from its eye. In the United States and Caribbean, Oya is central to the Orisha revival movement, which has gained global traction among African descendants seeking spiritual reconnection. As people turn away from colonial religions in search of ancestral roots, Oya offers more than ritual, she offers liberation. Black women especially are reclaiming her image as a symbol of unapologetic power. Artists paint her, poets praise her, and activists walk in her wind. She stands as a counterforce to systems of oppression, a spiritual archetype of resistance, transformation, and justice. But Oya is also being reinterpreted in modern spiritual circles outside of traditional worship. Some embrace her as a feminist icon, a chaos goddess, or a symbolic force of personal change. In metaphysical spaces, she is honored during seasonal storms, life transitions, and moments of grief and rebirth. Her machete becomes a metaphor for cutting through toxic patterns, her winds a call to action. Even outside her traditional frameworks, Oya speaks to something deeply human, the need to let go, to transform, to rise. In this sense, Oya is not just a goddess of storms, she is the storm within us. In every generation, Oya returns, not as a figure of the past, but as a living force that whispers through winds, howls through grief, and dances through revolution. She is the Orisha of endings and beginnings, of collapse and rise. When systems rot, when fear grips, when death seems final, Oya reminds us that transformation is coming, and that we, like her, hold the power to fight, to guide the spirits, and to change the world. Oya is not just mythology, she is memory, movement, and message. Her storms swept away tyrants, her machete cut through injustice, and her winds carried the cries of the oppressed straight into the ears of the ancestors. In a world where power often silences the weak, Oya rose as the goddess of defiance, a fierce protector of the forgotten, a warrior who stood at the gates of life and death, and chose both. From the battlefields of ancient Yoruba wars to the spiritual revolutions of Afro-Brazilian favelas and black liberation movements in America, Oya has inspired political resistance, humanitarian revival, and cultural pride. She fought not just for gods, but for the souls of the people, especially women, the marginalized, the grieving, the reborn. Her legacy is a call to transform pain into power, endings into awakenings, and silence into a storm. If Oya's story moved you, shook you, or lit a fire inside, don't let it stop here. Like this video, drop a comment about what you learned, and share it with someone who needs the storm. And if you're ready to uncover more hidden African history, ancient gods, warrior queens, and untold truths, hit that subscribe button and join the movement. This is not just history, this is our legacy. Subscribe now for more storms.